Yeah, I'm good. How are you? Yeah, good, thank you. Think-
Have I just been talking to myself for the last 2 seconds?
Yes.
Because I think, yeah. Oh, well, me and my fat thumbs. All right, so let me restart this again then. Welcome to Startup Fundraising Q&A 154. We're here to help you raise funding for your business and take it to the next stage, really. Now, I think I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, over 90% of startups fail. And the top 3 reasons for that are 1, market fit, 2, running out of money, and 3, not having the right people. So we're here to help you with that second reason as to, well, what's behind startup failure. And that is fundraising. Well, and with fundraising, hopefully you can sort that out, i.e. the running out of money. We're here to answer any questions you may have on fundraising, whether that is, let's say, investor outreach, maybe deciding which is the right source for you. Is it an investor, angel, VC, a grant, a crowdfunding campaign, or maybe you want to know how to reach out to certain people, how to prepare your pitch deck, your data room, your valuations, equity, due diligence, and all that jazz. There literally are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. I'll be here for the next 55 minutes with 4 amazing people that know their stuff when it comes to fundraising, and we'll take any questions you may have. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We'll then give you the mic and then you can ask the team. For those of you that are on the live streams, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please be aware that unfortunately we are unable to monitor your questions live there. So if you do want to ask our team anything, you'll have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, and the quickest way to join, it's perhaps to go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club. You click or scroll down rather a little bit, you'll find today's session, which is Startup Fundraising Q&A 154, I think. There you will then need to click join. It's a quick registration that gets you a link to your email, and through that link you can then tune into our audio call. Being audio only, it means you can join us from anywhere via any platform or device. Now, if your questions are not on fundraising, please save them for the other conversations we run. Mondays, it's talent. Tuesdays, it's product and tech. Wednesdays, it's growth. Thursdays, as you can see today, it's fundraising. Second Friday of each month, i.e. tomorrow, it's UK startup law, and third Friday of each month, it's UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. They're all available via our website, startuptoscaleup.club, and you can RSVP basically and register to any of them via that. Now, in terms of how this runs today, we'll go through some quick introductions. Then I'll ask the panelists for their main do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage fundraising, and then we'll open it for questions from the audience. In the meantime, if the, actually not just the panelists, but even if the others, the founders that are in the room, if you'd like to share your LinkedIn and just a couple of words about who you are and what your startup is about, feel free to do so. Otherwise, let's get on with the introductions. My name's Anton Cole. I'm an Albanian in London working with startups normally right after they get investment. I embed within their teams and help them hire and keep the right people. I also do some growth advisory work with a few other startups and accelerators, and I help some angels and family offices with their due diligence and their assessments. We'll go on to Stephanie, then Rob, then Archie, and last but not least, Tommy, please.
Thanks, Anton. Delighted to be here today, and hopefully collectively we can support some startups on their growth journey. I'm Steph Aldridge, as you say, one of the team at Innovate UK Business Growth. What we do is to support companies to grow their businesses and to achieve their ambitions for scale. Our innovation and growth specialists are working with super innovative businesses across each and every sector. We're working with founders, with their senior teams on a one-to-one basis to fit their needs. So the work we do is entirely bespoke. And it includes support with innovation strategy, with internationalization, and obviously with funding and finance, which is the topic for today. A little bit about me. So I'm an entrepreneur myself. I'm a business director. I'm an ex-management consultant. So I spent over 10 years in the city working with the FTSE 250 and supporting small businesses to grow and to raise funds. I'm senior innovation and growth specialist, got a specialism in funding and finance. And on the equity side, I lead activities around investment readiness, including supporting our national programs.
Anton, thanks for having me. I'm Rob Garrett. I have spent the last 15 years working in within 4 family businesses at the operating level and also the investment level. I'm currently partner to a unicorn tech founder through his private investment vehicle, focusing on investing in European tech sovereignty, autonomy, and dual use security. I also have co-investment structure, which co-invests with an Asian, Southeast Asian conglomerate owner in domains of sustainability and food security. I previously worked for a first-generation South African hospitality developer in his operating business and across his family office interests, and prior to that for an 11th generation UK landowner and entrepreneur. I have invested across the domains of sustainability, human performance and health, and a range of things, and particularly focused on the bridge between Asia and the UK, which is where I am based most of the time today, but I travel extensively into Asia and own a business there called Asian Future.
Thank you, Anton, for having me. Archie Thomason here from Varesco Group. We set up about a year and a half ago now. We've got a capital management arm and then advisory as well. In capital management, we've been in the process of setting up our Sustainable Australian Farmland Fund. Started raising under a year ago now, and got soft commitments of around 82 million. Hopefully in the coming weeks, closing our anchor. And then on the advisory side, which is more applicable, we support fundraisers, operations for early stage companies across the agri-food sector and climate tech. All of our experiences before setting up Varesco was in early stage VC, ranging from small family offices all the way to larger VCs like Future Planet Capital. Pleasure to be here. Feel free to get in contact afterwards, and hopefully we can be of some help in the next hour.
Hi everyone, my name's Tommy Breen and I'm a senior advisor at the growth stage. So we support businesses with capital raising, but as our very on-the-nose name gives away, those are businesses already in growth stage. So that means typically we work with businesses raising a Series B round or later. And then outside of that, I'm also a mentor at Founder Institute. So I spend a lot of time working closely with founders from the very earliest stages, trying to guide them through ideation, developing MVPs, go-to-market strategies, trying to find product market fits for all those things. So hopefully I can offer some useful advice today. Thanks.
Here, well, thank you very much to all four of you. You've heard them, people. We've got 4 stellar panelists with us today, and we are going to make use of them to the last second, basically, and that means for another 47 minutes they will take any questions you may have when it comes to fundraising for your business. There are no wrong questions, and it's a learning curve for us all. So for those of you that are here on Microsoft Teams, please feel free to drop your question, not leave it for last second. So drop those questions ASAP. We'll then give you the mic if you drop them in the chat, and then you can ask the team. For those on the live streams, whether that's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please be aware that unfortunately we are unable to monitor your questions there live, so you'll need to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Quickest way to do that is go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club. Find today's session. Just scroll down a little bit. It's Startup Fundraising Q&A 154. You click join. It's a quick registration that gets you a link to your email. Then through that link, you can then join us here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, which means you can tune in from anywhere via any platform or device. And then, like the others, just drop your question in the chat. They can be about anything to do with fundraising. As far as the others are here, if you do find this valuable at all, it might be a good idea if you can actually share the link on whether it's LinkedIn or whichever other platform you use to keep in touch with other founders. Would appreciate that. How about we go to some do's and don'ts? We'll if we can use one for each rather than use the same logic for both, that would be great. So maybe we can start with Tommy, Archie, Rob, and last but not least, Stephanie, please. What is one thing that you've seen founders do well and one that you've seen them do wrong? Take it.
I think one thing that is a massive do at the moment, it's not new, it's always been important, but when you're at the very early stages and you're going out looking for investment, it's very important to show a clear go-to-market strategy, a distribution plan of how you're going to get in front of customers and win customers, whether that is B2B or B2C. But it's become particularly important recently with the proliferation and the emergence of vibe coding tools, where people that previously couldn't build MVPs, because they couldn't write code, can now do that with prompting AI tools to actually build MVPs. And so software has become, I guess, less of a moat for a lot of businesses. And so what's really important is you can't go to an investor and say, I have this MVP, I have this idea, I need money to now go and spend on ads. And, you know, that's never always been a great strategy anyway. It's been a lot of money wasting, but you need to be able to show how you're going to win customers and what your right to win is. Do you have, you know, some unique skill set, or do you have experience in the sector, the industry you're building your business in? Do you have potential partners? Like, do you have a network? So those things are really, really important now to show your distribution strategy, because without that, it's going to be hard for investors to get behind your idea. They can't just write checks for you to go and spend on ads, because somebody can copy your idea in a day now, literally see your, you know, your app, whatever it is, and just get, you know, whatever it is, Lovable or Replit, to build the exact same thing instantly. And so it can't just be a race for marketing dollars. You have to have something that'll allow you to win customers that they don't. So think about those networks. So trying to think about that for yourselves, and also being able to convey that as a kind of moat, if you will, within your deck, that's become really important. I would say don't, whenever you are going out to investors, you know, can't stress this enough, don't waste your time or their time going out to investors that won't invest in your business. So, you know, if you're a fintech startup, there's no point in sending your deck to a health tech investor that doesn't do any fintech. It's a waste of time. That sounds obvious, but, you know, it can also be more nuanced. So spend time going onto investors' websites, looking at their portfolio, what they invest in, the stages, and make sure you personalize your approach to every investor, you know, because it's pretty obvious when something has just been sent as a template. So you have to really convince them that, you know, why they would be a good investor and why you want them to be an investor. So make sure you go after the right investors in a personalized way.
And you, Tommy? Next, I think we said Rob, Archie, and then Stephanie, didn't we? Or maybe we said Archie and then either of you gentlemen. Then
Archie, do you? Well, I'm happy to jump in.
Go ahead, Rob. Go.
Yeah, I think Tommy raised a salient point about personalization. I mean, my particular expertise, having spent so long working for and with family offices. And I was having this conversation with a venture founder this morning that cold outreach me, is that level of personalization. You know, I think it's particularly pertinent when you're talking to families. Do research who you are talking to, and that's relevant because you may more often than not be able to access the family member, the ultimate beneficial owner, and you may be talking to the employed investor who, it has to be said, in the family office space, but also in the institutional space, inherently they are risk managers. Their job is to manage risk first and foremost. And so their lexicon starts with no. And you've got to convince them as to why they shouldn't say no. And so a well-researched approach is very, very solid. So I think do research, and then just riffing on that. Don't just cold outreach to people with no research at all, like impersonal emails that start with hey or dear, the wrong name, where someone's tried to do a mail merge and it just goes horribly wrong, or something just completely inappropriate. I mean, I think that I have it quite obviously out there, the kind of things that interest me, but I receive loads and loads of approaches about subjects that just don't interest me, and all it does is annoy me, and enables me to delete them. And I'll just extend to that, which is one thing when trying to target families, is they have family offices often for a reason. So you can make a nice friendly approach to a family member saying, I thought this might interest you or whatever, but don't try and circumvent the professionals that they hire to do a job for them intentionally, because it does often backfire and annoy them.
Yeah, completely agree with both Rob and Tommy. It's all massively on personal relationships, or relationships you've got to curate and spend time and effort, putting time and effort into. If someone's going to put the lack of research into an initial message, then a lack of effort is going to come back the other way. So on my do's, I would say, in the fundraising process, as I just referenced, it being a lot of personal relationships or just one-to-one relationships, make sure you spend time, dedicate that to them. Naturally, that's going to take a long time, and as a result, forecast at least 12 months to raise. I know that varies with stage and whether you're doing friends and family, angels, or larger raises, but yeah, at least 12 months, because also it gives reassurance for the investor that you're not you haven't gone to the whole market already, and you're sort of panicking with trying to extend your runway. On don'ts, although you need to do your research, find the right investors, even if they have deployed in your sector or relevant sectors and are interested in you and your company, don't expect them to understand your vision, to really appreciate what you're doing straight away. And so I would encourage patience, which of course most people, well, almost everyone has, but when you're in the thick of it and in the thick of a fundraise, and you've got to be time sensitive, do always try and take time to educate investors, because who knows whether it may be this raise, or it may be in 1 or 2 raises time, that they may be the ones you need.
Yeah, I mean, I totally concur with what Tommy, Rob and Archie have all said. I think to build on it from what we see in the work we do at Innovate UK Business Growth, what is really important is that companies can really clearly and concisely explain what their business does. It's absolutely imperative, and it sounds obvious, but it can be harder than you think it is. So it really means considering what problem the company is solving in the market, where's the gap, what's the competitive edge, and what's the solution that tallies with all of those elements, and being able to articulate that really clearly and concisely without waffling, so that it's just really obvious what you do. And if you think about, if you're selling to customers aren't going to buy if they don't understand what you're selling. And in this instance, the customer is the investor, and you're trying to sell them a bit of your business in exchange for cash and for expertise. So we work with businesses across all sectors, from creative to software as a service to complex biotech to drug discovery to deep tech. And it is possible to clearly and concisely articulate for any of those sectors and any of those businesses what the business does. So, the saying is true that if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And that element can be hard to get right. So getting that right is a real do. Also, if you ask investors what the most important factor is to them when choosing whether to invest, quite often it's team. And so for a pre-revenue company without a lot of traction, team can be the one absolute fact in a business. So it's worth working really hard to establish a strong team. And that kind of leads me into my don't, which is to not overplay the technical side of the business when you are approaching investors. So when you're putting a pitch deck together, or a one-pager, or an elevator pitch, you have to move away from the comfort zone is often the technical side, but what an investor is investing in is the whole investable opportunity. And it goes right back to what Tommy said. It's about kind of thinking through, the commercial aspects and the go-to-market aspects, and making sure that that's all built out and understood when you're putting your pitch deck together. So, don't go out there before you're ready. Don't approach investors until you understand all of that, and you're ready to properly sell in the investable opportunity.
This is amazing. Thank you very much to all 4 of you. Right here, we're going to go to Sandy in 1 second, but just a reminder to those of you that have just tuned in, this is Startup Fundraising Q&A 154. We're here to help founders with whatever questions you have in terms of your fundraising journey. Whether you want to know how and when to go and fundraise, maybe how to decide whether you should go for, I don't know, an investor or a grant or a crowdfunding campaign or an angel or a loan, maybe how to prepare your pitch deck and all that jazz. There literally are no wrong questions and there's no need to be shy. We are only going to be here for the next 34 minutes. But my advice would be to not leave it for last second because we'll run out of time. It's only until 1 p.m. For those of you on the live streams, whether that's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please be aware that unfortunately we are unable to monitor your questions there live. So you'll need to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Quickest way to do that is go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club. You'll find today's session, if you scroll down a little bit, which is Startup Fundraising Q&A 154. Click join. It's a quick registration. That gets you a link to your email, and then through that link, you can tune into our call on Microsoft Teams. And being audio only means you can join us from anywhere via any platform or device. Let's say you're cooking lunch in Liverpool, walking your dog in Surrey, changing baby nappies in Glasgow, or maybe working out of a shared office in Jersey. It doesn't really matter. You can all tune in. But without further ado, Sandy, can you hear us? Are you audible?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you are. Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us. A quick introduction, please, Sandy, and if you don't mind, a little bit about your startup. You don't have to tell us everything, but just some ideas, and then far away with your question, because I think it's a really important question that we get all the time. And today we are extremely lucky to have Stephanie here, because the one thing that the majority of startups I meet is their complete and total ignorance, and that includes myself when it comes to the grants landscape, because it's a minefield. Take it away, please, Sandy.
Hi, thank you. So yeah, I'm Sandy, and I'm still a startup, but it's basically in retail. I will focus on handmade crafts, and it's gonna be like a kind of little market with like different artists, and yeah, it's gonna be something like that. Hopefully, if I get the fundings.
I
So.
hear. I hear. So is
Um,
the plan to have like a marketplace, or are you going to do this work yourself? What are you trying to do here, Sandy?
So it's gonna be something like a marketplace. Yes, definitely.
I hear.
I'm
Okay,
gonna,
pretty good.
yeah, I'm gonna just like have my stand too, like I'm gonna do also my creations, but I'm gonna share the place with the other creators too.
I hear. Okay, very good. And when you say grants, what are we talking about here? Are you what kind of money are you going to need? Are you going to need money to build an app or a platform? Are you able to build what they call an MVP, which is a minimum viable product? Where do you stand on this, or you actually need money for pretty much everything because you haven't got funding for any of that?
Yeah, kind of everything, but I wanna get like a place where to sell in person, and maybe like for the renovation and to pay at least the first month of rent, and that's what I need right now. Like as in the materials.
Yeah, so one thing that might be appropriate for you is the startup loan scheme. Have you looked at that?
No.
So it's a source of debt funding available from it's a government-backed scheme, and it's available to companies who've been trading for less than 3 years. So it depends how long you've been set up for, but from what I'm hearing from you, you're fairly new to trading. Is that right?
Yes.
So each founder in a business can apply for up to £25,000 from the startup loan scheme, up to a maximum of £100,000 per business, split across 4 founders. So it might be worth having a look at that. With many high street loans, it wouldn't be applicable for you because they look at historics and they'd want to see you know, the revenue and the profit and the ability to pay back the loan based on historic trading. But startup loans are specifically for startups. They're forward-looking. So to qualify, you have to have been trading for between 3 and 60 months to receive a follow-on loan from startup. And that initial startup loan, you just need to have been trading for less than 3 years. You get some free mentoring support for up to 12 months to sort of help you through those early stages of running your business. So it's specifically designed for companies who can't secure traditional bank finance. So it might be worth just having a look on the Startup Loans website and having a look at that. Another suggestion would be to reach out to your local growth hub and ask for a conversation and see whether they can support you with any mentorship.
Yeah, I did that, and now they told me to see and apply for as many grants as I can. But I don't know how to find the right grants, because you need to have specific requirements, and I'm not sure which ones should I apply to, which ones should I not, and how much time did it take for the application, how much do they give me? I have so many questions.
Yeah, so it'd be worth working with your growth hub on that, and I'm sure they can help you to identify relevant grants. In many grants, you know, in the innovation ecosystem are there for companies that fit specific innovation criteria, specific sectors and themes. So they are very, you know, you do have to very much fit the call. And you know, how they define innovation is partly around how you can protect your competitive edge. So if it is something that is patentable, or something where, you know, you could apply a level of trade secrets to it, or, you know, in the cases of software businesses, it may be that they have, you know, specific algorithms. You know, it has to have a level, quite often with sort of R&D finance, to take companies up to a commercially viable level. They're looking for that defensible innovation. So if you think you fit with that, with an aspect of your business, fantastic, and you know, your growth hub can channel you there. But otherwise, you know, there may be government-backed local grants to support businesses to set up, which are also just worth a look.
Yeah,
there definitely are. Sorry. Thank you, Stephanie, for that. And sorry, by the way, I got kicked out for some reason. Sandy, have you been in touch, as Stephanie mentioned, there's with Grow London? I don't know if you know Grow London.
Yes, literally been on a call with them yesterday.
Okay. And how do you find them? Any good tips from them?
Yes, they told me to get a UTR, and I am doing it.
Okay.
And after that, they're gonna help me find the funding. But they sent me like this this webinar, and I just to attend, so that I can have more idea.
Cool. When you say UTR, did they advise you to start like a freelancer / self-employed thing?
Solo trader. That's what they said.
I see, sole trader.
Yeah.
Now, it's obviously we don't give legal advice here, so we're only talking based on my experience, and this is my personal opinion. But if you are to either borrow money or ask for grants, you are in a much better position to have a limited company rather than a sole trader. That's one. And you're also liable, way more liable, when you are sole trader than when you're an LTD. On the other hand, for tax reasons, people may advise people to go as a sole trader because you can get some of that back. But that's where the difference is. You have to decide for yourself whether you want to go big or try and go as big as you can and open some doors in terms of opportunities for grants and loans and what have you. Or you want to start as a sole founder and, I don't know, start selling one necklace at a time, as they say, right? So that's where I would focus. The other part is I would definitely go to your local council And also, look, there's a lot of philanthropic organizations out there that give small grants. We're talking, a few thousand here and there, but that can take you quite to a few places. And they are definitely worth exploring. If you want, I am more than happy to spend 20 minutes, half an hour to go into a bit more detail and maybe come up with some ideas of other sort of grants and stuff. So feel free. I think I checked earlier. I think we're already connected on LinkedIn, but feel free to send me a message, and then maybe next week or something we can find time for a quick video call or just call, whatever, and see. But
thank you so
maybe
much.
maybe have some ideas ready before we have that call, so exactly what you want to do and all that jazz.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody else here wants to add anything. Archie, Tommy, Rob?
Not from me, thank you.
I don't think I need to add anything else to Stephanie's points.
No, nothing more from me.
No worries. Thank you very much. Sandy, I hope you found that helpful. And again, I didn't really hear much of Stephanie's points because I somehow managed to kick myself out. But I'm sure it must have been gold. So hopefully you found that helpful.
You missed some gold
Yes,
dust there, Anton. I'm kidding.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sandy, and best of luck. Do feel free to join us again, by the way. We would love to hear on your progress. Right, I think it's time to go on to our next question. Let me see if anybody... For those of you that were here, have I missed any other questions? Okay, probably not. Right, where is... Oh, geez. I don't know what I've done with a question. There you go, question 2. So I think we'll start with Stephanie again on this, because this is a one on grants. We're a marine tech... Sorry, okay. This is a marine tech founder based in Plymouth at seed stage. He's studied to become a marine biologist. We want to build underwater drones initially for oceanic research. However, there's plenty of opportunities to later expand to other purposes, but the development costs are high. We're currently at design stage. How do I leverage R&D tax credits effectively to stretch our budget? And are there specific grants or partnerships with research institutions I should prioritize? Oh boy, Stephanie, you're in trouble today. I think all the questions are for you. Let's start with Stephanie, and then we can go to Archie, and then Tom, and last but not least, Rob, if you've got anything to add here. Stephanie gets more than 1 minute. As far as the lads are concerned, let's try and keep it to a minute, please. Go ahead.
The starting point is whether these underwater drones have a level of competitive edge. So where does the innovation lie within that? So, that's an area, that I would be, if I was working with this company, I'd be wanting to understand that a little bit better, and making sure that, there is clear innovation there and that is protected. But if we take that as a given that we can't have that conversation, in terms of sort of the grants or the partnerships, there are many out there for highly innovative businesses. In this instance, for example, you might look at a DASA themed call, so the Defence and Security Administration. They have maritime innovation challenges for subsea robotics and undersea work, which would potentially fit well. It would be worth having a conversation with one of the research and technology organisations sort of outside of Plymouth. I can see you're at Plymouth. For example, the offshore renewable energy catapult would be a good first conversation around de-risking and any support that they can give you. For businesses that are supported by Innovate UK Business Growth, we support those businesses to access RTO catapults such as those, such as the energy catapult, with a £15,000 100% intervention grant, and that just really helps with that side. There are Innovate UK knowledge transfer partnerships, where there is partial funding to embed another university expert alongside you, which can really help with the prototyping, access to labs, that sort of thing. If you need kind of any collaboration outside of what you're doing at Plymouth. Horizon Europe is absolutely fantastic. At Horizon Europe, the current grant, which is running until 2027, is a 95.5 billion euro pot of money, and there are, within that, there are lots of different pillars to support different grant themes and types. So it would be worth having a look at Horizon Europe. In order to access that, you would need to partner. So you need at least 3 core partners, 3 independent entities from associated countries, at least one of them in an EU country. But if you feel that you're at the stage for Horizon Europe, that can be a very good source of grant funding, along with Eureka Eurostars, Global Stars, and also checking out the Innovate UK website for Innovate UK backed calls, or calls that are backed by Innovate UK and its partner organisations. So there are a lot of potential grants out there, if there is that high innovation, which hopefully there is.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you very much. Let's go to the lads, Archie, Tommy, and Rob, if you've got anything to add, Joe.
Well, I can't think there's anything left to add. That was a fantastic answer, and very thorough. But on the R&D tech credits, I can't help, but I would just encourage them to also look at incubators in the region, early stage investors. That's the only area of expertise I have. Whether it may be Set Squared, that's one that comes to mind. Quantext in Bristol. Going back to Set Squared, I think they work between, I think it may be Plymouth, Exeter, and maybe Bristol, the sort of university.
Yeah, they've got 4 or 5, don't they?
Yeah, it's definitely worth speaking to them, as well as perhaps UK incubators, the likes of Founders Factory. If you wanted to go abroad to Europe, Rockstar, Morova, these are particular investors that are interested in marine technologies right from the very, very beginning. And you're not a million miles away from MOD in sort of Wiltshire, Dorset border. So perhaps also get in contact with Ploughshare, who spin out a number of companies from IP or databases that they've established. But I'll hand over there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Breen, and then Rob. We said Tommy first and then Rob. Go.
Nothing to add on the R&D tax credits. I would just say other things to explore. Like there are, it's still a pretty niche sector, these underwater drones, I would say, but there are companies out there. So I do a bit more research on those. There's one that I know of in the US called Ulysses, just because it's Irish founders behind it, but they've managed to get some early stage funding from VCs. Now, a lot more of those types of VCs invest in those early stage businesses are based in the US, but I just do some more research on, other, builders of these underwater drones and maritime systems to see how they've funded and see if there's any accelerators they've been on or anything like that. So I just go and research your potential competitors and see what they've done and how they've gotten funding and gotten through the early stages, because it's really tricky to get the funding to build the initial prototypes. And I would also consider, I'm sure you know who your target customers are. So maybe even speaking to them now and trying to understand what firstly they would want from the product, and try and see if there's anything beyond LOIs would they be willing to fund through loans, or anything that they could fund part of the development. So I just try and think a bit outside the box and not just all be focused on grants, because you could spend a lot of time applying for grants, and if you don't think about anything else and you don't get anywhere with those, you kind of feel like you don't have a business without a grant. So I try and think a bit more outside the box and don't just rely on grants and tax credits as your pure strategy for building the next stage.
I'm glad you mentioned that part about grants. I can't remember which event I went to, but they said that they calculated that it was about 200 hours on average to apply for a Innovate UK grant that it took founders. So, Rob, any thoughts on this?
I am not in the position to really add anything erudite on top of the fantastic responses we received, especially as I'm not a UK funding expert. I'm more sort of international and family office. I would just say, just as a general point, the point about who your potential customers could be, as you are networking and researching, it's always a good idea to reach out. If you can find a senior executive in a potential future customer of yours, reach out to them and ask for advice, not capital, because they will probably know the ecosystem, and people in senior positions, generally speaking, get more of a warm glow from being asked for advice than they do are being asked for a particular thing that, such as capital. So if you reach out to potential customers and say, I'm looking at building this, I've researched my market, as said previously, keep it short and pithy, but just ask for a 15-minute advice conversation, and that may open more doors for you. Or gold first prize would be that it leads to them actually saying, oh, this is innovative and could be a solution to something we've been looking at, and we might fund you off our own balance sheet, and then you've solved two questions.
That's a very good one. One of the first things I encountered when I sort of had my early exposures to the VC world was that if you ask an investor for money, you may get advice, and if you ask an investor for advice, you may get money. So that's a good point. We've got about 13 minutes to go now. Jasmine, I've given you the mic. Are you audible?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Brilliant. Please introduce yourself and a quick sort of description of your business, and then ask the panel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Jasmine. I'm currently building a modern photo booth experience that prints monochrome receipt-style photos. I am mainly targeting sort of the London area at the moment, and I'm in the middle of some market research to validate my idea. So I'm looking to sort of get some funding, and at the moment I'm able to bootstrap, so it's the money side isn't a huge problem, but market research can be quite costly, and yeah, I want to make sure that I'm able to sort of validate my idea. I'm also trying to validate it through reaching out to potential customers, seeing what their opinions are, but I'm not at that stage quite yet. So I'm also very early stages in terms of preparing for it. Yeah.
Okay, that's a brilliant one. So in terms of this, are you planning to actually build the booths yourself? Where do you stand? What is the plan so far?
Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if you have noticed, but in London there's a lot of photo booth studios that have been popping up, especially in central London. What I wanted to basically capitalize is bringing this experience to smaller spaces and basically building that community aspect of you go to spaces that you would normally go, and you're able to capture special and everyday moments. So my product essentially would be a small portable photo booth, which I have a supplier for. So I would just basically be purchasing that from my supplier and customizing the UI UX experience of that. And because it's a portable size, I'm able to put it in many different spaces around wherever I want to go, events, pop-ups, markets, etc.
How much would one unit cost to your specifications, roughly?
Roughly, I think it's around the 1K mark.
Okay, so that's pretty cheap. Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds good. And do you mind if I ask you at what stage in your professional career you're at the moment? Are you still studying, or have you done a lot of work? Where do you stand?
I come from a tech background. I was in product design for past 3 to 4 years. So I'm coming in with this very like tech minded in terms of like validating the idea, doing customer research, user research, all that jazz. And before that, I was a student. I studied business. So yeah, I'm a business graduate as well. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for that, Jasmine. Jasmine, this is more of a question for our product and tech, which we do on Tuesday, and definitely one for growth, which we do on Wednesday, because growth in that session, we go into go to market and all that jazz. Yep. I'm glad you're going through market research. Personally, I would initially focus to finding ways to go in B2B or B2B2C. What I mean by that is think of parties, think of, I don't know, having one at like local, like at a university, maybe various events and that kind of stuff. That's where I would focus if I were you.
Yes, that's my main target.
Brilliant. In terms of funding, I personally don't think you'll find it easy to find funding for this kind of stuff. Unless you have then shown some serious track records and you want to expand. That's a different story. But simply for research, I think you'll find it difficult. What I would do if I were you, I would get in touch with each and every bleeding university you can think of, or even colleges in London, to try and do that as part of somebody's homework or project or whatever they may have as part of their curriculum, basically. And there's quite a few such opportunities. I don't think you'll find it easy to find funding, but I'd love to hear from the others here. Do you mind if we go to you again, Stephanie, and then we see if any of the gentlemen want to add anything?
I have a question. You mentioned about this is more towards the product and tech side of things, right? It is, while it is kind of a product and tech because it has the user interface and everything like that, the way I'm thinking about this business is very much more of like a service design aspect, because I'm basically, what value would I be bringing to my clients, right? So the businesses that I'd be working with. The one thing that comes to my mind is, for example, if I'm working for a cafe or events, it's like the footfall of people that come to their place and obviously pay for their services and their products. That's kind of the element of what I want to basically capitalize on, and the social media reach, etc., outreach, etc. So I'd be interested in why you mentioned that it would be good for the product and tech side, since it's not like an app or anything like that I'm selling or building.
I hear. No.
Yeah.
I hear. What I meant is the product and tech Q&A. It's with panelists that are specialists on product and tech, and you can ask them questions in terms of how to best come up with the right offer, or maybe they might be able to think of certain tips on how you can actually best do that market research, and maybe build a product roadmap and all that stuff.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Stephanie, any quick thoughts on Jasmine's question here on what she's doing?
Absolutely. To answer your question directly, so Jasmine, you asked the question in the chat about grants specifically for young entrepreneurs. If I start by answering that, and then I want to sort of jump to something else. At Innovate UK Business Connect, there is a specific program called Young Innovators. Have you seen it?
I don't think I have, and if I did, I didn't think I would really qualify for that, because I'm not like coming up with this myself.
Okay, I've put it in the chat anyway. So young innovators are up to the age of 30, creative disruptors, and there's a real, I think one of the things that stops young businesses from thriving is access to finance and lack of mentoring. And Young Innovators Programme is there to support creative disruptors to get funding, tailored advice, skills, training. There's a platform called No Limits, which is really helpful. There's a peer network associated with that. Have a look and see whether you think you're relevant to that and could apply for that. And you're also very welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. I've put my LinkedIn in the chat, and see whether we can support you, and if we can't, then your local growth hub will more than likely be able to do so. There's also the Simply Business awards. So it's £5,000 for 10 young business owners. So I'm just looking at that as well online. Let me add that to the chat.
I'm actually applying for that, and the deadline's today.
Are you? Okay, yeah. So that looks really good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
there
are others, and there are others which are region specific. So, for example, I'm in the east of England. There's the Youth Enterprise Support Programme in Cambridge, for example. There's something in Cambridge and Peterborough called Jumpstart. These regional-based support programmes for young entrepreneurs are available nationwide, and it's worth just looking to see what's there. But I just wanted to also pan out a little bit and just ask the question why necessarily you're looking for young entrepreneur funds, because there are a whole host of grants which are outside of that as well. So it's yes, it's great if you qualify for young entrepreneur, fantastic, but it's worth just looking at the whole as well, and what else is out there, looking at, for example, incubators. Barclays Eagle Labs, for example, they used to have tailored sector focused incubators. They're now largely sector agnostic across the country, tapping into the innovation ecosystem and just getting that support. NatWest has a similar, they have an innovation offer. There are a whole host of them. Very happy to have a further conversation if that can be helpful.
Yeah, that would definitely be helpful. I guess the reason why I'm trying to cast my net wide, but I guess the reason why I'm not sort of applying for these innovation related ones is just because I don't think I'm not creating anything myself. Like, I'm not creating a new technology, I'm not creating a new product, I'm actually just buying somebody else's product and bringing it over and doing that stuff. So I guess for me, it's more about the definition of what innovative means in that context. So yeah, I mean, if you're suggesting I should look at it, I'll definitely have a look and see if it's.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. So if you don't perceive that there is sort of protectable innovation in it, perhaps what you're looking at is going back to one of the previous conversations we had with somebody else, is the startup loans program or something like that, where it's not about the innovation, it's about the expected flow of profit that can come from the business, and you having mapped that out and being able to put forward a case to say, if you give me this cash now to put in place X photo booths, the profit flow looks like this. And so that's up to £25,000 per founder, with potential follow-on loan funding up to a collective pot of £100,000 per business. So you might find that that's more appropriate for you.
Thank you so much.
That's a very good point. And you always also have invoice financing. But for that, you would need a purchase order and, all that stuff from a business that has already bought something from you. But that can be helpful as well. Let's see if the lad's got anything to say. So maybe we can go to Rob, Tommy, and then Archie. Any thoughts on this, gentlemen?
From my side, just the fact that you're buying sort of existing technology is have a think about what profile of investor you really want, because are you necessarily building a venture scalable business? That doesn't necessarily, and sorry, I'm assuming that given the nature of the title of this session, Startup Fundraising, most people are thinking about venture, but those on this panel have got a lot more experience of UK funding streams and grant funding and everything else. But I would just say one question I wanted to just, one point I wanted to raise in this whole conversation is thinking about what kind of investor you need or want. And it doesn't necessarily need to be sort of a venture-minded investor who's going after 10x or 100x return. And indeed, we've had wide discussion about grant funding and debt funding, and that may get you along the track that you need to get on. And then the other question is, is there funding that comes from private sources? That could be families, family offices. It could be the increasing a sort of private investor universe that exists. But have a clear think about what your expectations are of the scalability of the business you're building and what your exit path is, because that will influence the investors that you may want to go and target and seek to speak to.
I think from my side, just to understand the actual sort of what you envisage the business model being, is this something that somebody like organizing or hosting an event, they would pay you and the people at the event would use the photo booth for free?
There are several business models that I can approach with this. So as they mentioned earlier, B2B, 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 B2C. So the first is obviously shop in shop, which is I could basically contact a venue or a space, and I would basically either pay a rental fee for a month fee, and I would have 100% of the profits, or I would go for a commission model where basically I might pay a renter still, but they might have a commission of my profits. And the second part of that is also the events part, which is basically just actually renting out that particular machine at that particular period of time, and it could be free for the attendees, mainly ticketed, because if it's like a run club, for example, I could partner with a cafe that's on that path of the run club, and at the end they basically get a free photo with a part of their ticket for the run club, if that makes any sense. So there's a lot of different ways I can go about that.
Because I'm just wondering on the market research point, instead of paying someone to do market research, I guess when you think about what's the outcome, what are you looking for in terms of information here? Is it something you could do yourself? I.e., could you turn up at some park run stuff and just have your list of questions you want to ask people and just approach people and ask them whatever, if there's a photo booth here, would you use it? And similarly, like there's, I don't know if you know, Freeze, it's like a sort of a modern contemporary art magazine. They have a big event every year called Freeze London, which is actually on next week. It was really cool in Regent's Park. I think tickets are probably like 100 odd quid. So it's not cheap, but it's cheaper than market research. And even if you pay to go to that and just go up to people maybe subtly so they don't realize you're doing it, but if you could come out of that and say, I spoke to 100 people and 90 of the people said if there was a photo booth here that had something cool linked to like Freeze London, they would definitely have used it. And then you can at least say, look, I've been to these events, I've spoken to these people, and this is the feedback I have. And that kind of, maybe a way to solve the market research point a bit cheaper than, paying someone to go out and get people to answer the questions for you anyway. I'd say in the funding point as well, like I know you're not obviously a classically VC backable business, but there are funds and I guess angel networks out there like Alma Angels, which focuses on female-led businesses, and while they do classify themselves as venture capital angels supporting female founders, like if you look at their portfolio, there is plenty of consumer and D2C businesses in there that is really like might be supplements, which 98% of supplement businesses are just white labeled anyway, so they're kind of doing something similar to you where they're getting a product, branding it and selling it on. So whilst you're not obviously backable by most venture businesses, I would do a bit of research on female focused investment funds and a few others and just look at the portfolios and what they've invested in, because you might actually be surprised some of those angel networks and very early funds that are really targeted for supporting women or minorities actually do invest not just very specifically in businesses creating tech, but in more consumer businesses. So I would have a look around that. But yeah, just try and think about how you can actually do the market research yourself and get enough information to obviously make a decision yourself on going forward and bootstrapping it further or putting together a business case to go out and seek investment.
Would you send the angel network that you mentioned in the chat, please? You mentioned something.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Sorry.
No, you're welcome. Archie, any thoughts?
No thoughts or anything planned from me, but yeah, best of luck, Jasmine.
All
I
right,
just-
and one last, sorry, go.
I'm just going to quickly build on Tommy's point about investing in women, so angels that invest in women. If you look up the Investing in Women code and have a look at the latest, the 2025 annual report, you'll find reference to quite a lot of angel investors that will invest in women or have an Investing in Women focus, and that will kind of expand that list for you as well.
That's a very good point, Stephanie. And last but not least, Jasmine, the City of London has got a way for you to go there and research via a database called Bullhurst. They are probably the top one when it comes to investment. If you do the right research, you can find there investors, angels that have recently invested or whenever in businesses like yours, and then reach out to them yourself. That's a good way to go about it too. And especially with angels, I would also focus on those that have either had similar businesses or maybe where CXOs in, I don't know, let's say at Westfield Shopping Centre or something like that, so that they can also open doors for you. But we are now 6 minutes over the line, which is much later than I would like to keep my panelists. So before I let you go, do you have any parting words for us? Let's start with the lady of the house, and then we'll go on to Rob. If you don't need to run, feel free to give us your parting words after Stephanie. If not, then we'll go to Archie, and last but not least, Tommy.
Yeah, I hope that was helpful today. If there are any listeners who have innovative businesses and they're looking to scale those on an international basis and see high growth in those businesses, do reach out to Innovate UK Business Growth, and we will see if we can support you.
Yeah, from my side, I've enjoyed listening to fellow panelists and feel like I've learned something. I guess that's a valid point for all of us, which is every interaction should be about learning something, but in the same sort of respectful tone as asking for advice. See what you can also add to every investor, and if it's not a relevant fit, see how you might be able to add something to them, as well as taking something away in terms of advice. I'll extend my own sort of limited offer, which is that if you're interested in expansion and networks, particularly with sort of family offices and private capital in Asia, that is and has been my expertise for the last 15 years, and I continue to provide that bridge to Asia and the Middle East. So happy to connect with anyone.
Thank you very much. And then I think we said Archie and Tommy, please.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Anton, and thank you all the participants also in with your questions. Best of luck for the future. As Rob just said about asking for advice rather than directly for capital, carry on being inquisitive, even though you're the one necessarily trying to sell your company to them. Inquisitive about what they do and creating long-term relationships that will in the end be useful in the long term. But yeah, best of luck and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks everyone for the questions. I think we had a lot of questions about grant funding today, and I'd say we're pretty lucky, pretty blessed in the UK with the grant funding, and we'll say what you want about various governments, but continued support for institutions like Innovate UK. So I think relatively strong in grant funding in the UK and supporting innovation. I think though, with that goes deep competition for grants, so they are not easy to get. So just keep thinking about other avenues to get your business going, and don't be thinking I need a grant, and without a grant I can't get funded or can't get my business going. So just try and think outside the box, and if you can get grant funding, it's amazing, but you want to get further funding regardless of that. So you should always be thinking about how else can you get funding. So yeah, just don't narrow your focus too much on this one like golden award, golden chalice that will, if you get it, that'll solve all your problems. So just try and think about other options and how you can get funding other ways too.
Well, thank you very much. Huge thanks to my amazing panelists for giving up their time to help us today for free. Appreciate everyone that tuned in, those of you on the live streams, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, and especially those that tuned in directly here via Microsoft Teams. Of course, even more to the ones that asked questions like Jasmine and Sandy. Please do continue to join us. Please bear in mind that unfortunately we are unable to monitor your questions from the live stream, so it's best if you actually join us live here on Microsoft Teams. Being audio only, it means you can tune in from anywhere. You can register to all future sessions. So to give you an idea, we run 6 regular Q&As, Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of each month, which is tomorrow, we run one on UK startup law with some amazing lawyers. And then on the third Friday of each month, it's UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any future session via our website, startuptoscaleup.club. When you're there, you may also want to join our WhatsApp community. We've got some amazing groups of founders, investors, operators, of course, our amazing panelists and other people in the ecosystem. But as far as my part in Wides are concerned, just remember the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter too. Otherwise, have a great afternoon. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow for some startup legal Q&A. And bye-bye and God bless. Ta-ra.